Welcome, everybody, to 5 Tips in 5 Minutes, rediscovering your greatness within with women's talks, tips, and techniques for empowerment, courage, and purpose. I'm Mitta Wise, your host, hypnotherapist and empowerment coach from New Zealand, living in Los Angeles, and often found in India. The topic today is momentum. Yes, so here are my 5 tips in 5 minutes for today. Let's start the clock. Number one, start when you feel ready. Momentum is never created by waiting. It begins the moment you take action while things may even still feel uncertain. Most people assume readiness comes first, but in reality, readiness is often a result of movement, not a requirement for it. The first step doesn't need to be perfect, strategic, or fully planned. It just needs to exist. That initial action interrupts stagnation and signals to your mind that things are now in motion. Tip number 2, small actions create big momentum. Momentum is really created through great big dramatic moves, although it can sometimes. But often it's built through small, repeated actions that may seem insignificant sometimes in the moment. The mind often misunderstands and underestimates small steps because they don't feel perhaps powerful enough. Yet these are the exact steps that qualify and compound into major change over time. A single action doesn't create transformation, but a consistent pattern of small actions absolutely does. Tip number 3, habits are momentum in automatic form. When an action becomes a habit, it no longer requires decision making. This is where momentum becomes powerful, when it moves from effort into automation. Instead of constantly choosing whether or not to act, you simply continue a pattern that already exists. This removes friction and makes consistency far easier. Habits create stability in your momentum. So even on days when motivation is low or life feels busy, habitual actions keep things moving. They act as the foundation that supports everything else you're building. And over time, habits become the quiet engine behind sustained progress. Tip number 4, momentum is easier to maintain than rebuild. One of the most overlooked truths about momentum is that it is far easier to keep it going than to start again after stopping. If you pause for too long, resistance returns. The first step after a break always feels a little heavier than continuing would have felt if you had stayed in motion. So this is why even minimal action matters. A small check-in, a short task, or a brief moment of progress is enough to keep the connection alive. It doesn't always need to maintain high output. You just need to maintain continuity. Momentum favors those who stay gently engaged rather than those who repeatedly restart. And tip number 5, momentum turns into identity over time. At the beginning, momentum feels like something you were trying to build, but over time it becomes something you embody. You stop seeing yourself as someone trying to get things done and start seeing yourself as someone who naturally moves forward. That's lovely, isn't it? Seeing yourself as someone who naturally moves forward. This identity shift is where lasting change happens. When momentum becomes part of how you see yourself, action stops feeling like a struggle. You no longer negotiate with yourself as often because forward movement becomes your default. The more you act, the more you become the kind of person who acts. Makes sense, doesn't it? And then identity is what sustains momentum long after the initial effort fades. And that identity is what sustains momentum long after the initial effort fades. I love talking about momentum, and it's so has so lots of little shifts and little tidbits to give you. I really love it. It's my 5 tips for 5 days on momentum. I hope that we're giving you lots of support, love, ideas, and momentum. And that's it for 5 tips in 5 minutes. See you next time, okay? See you soon, and lots of love. Signing off, Mitta Wise. Bye, everyone.